It's just a nice big. We were just saying how Zoom updated to try and make everything better, but it's not quite everything better just yet. So we're learning the new technology. It's just what we're doing. But look, welcome to the Creator-Based Life, because I'm here with Jacine Bonnet, a business coach, a mom, a grandma, an avid runner, and drumroll, Jennifer DeRoos, a coach, I can grow anything gardener, and a hypnotherapist. And I'm Beth, you know me, a master life coach, an author, and the creator of the Creator-Based Way. Create your one awesome, amazing, perfect, incredible life. But it's so good to be together. We really missed each other, and it's good to be here. Yeah. So this is kind of going to be like a catch up. Last week, Jen and I talked about sleep. And I told the story about having gone to my women's group church meeting, and there were about 50 of us in the room, and we're playing that game of Cahoots. I thought of you, Jacine, because I remember you just made a Cahoots game for your work. Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. But finding out that only 5 of the 50 women in the room slept through the night, it just blew my mind. Just blew my mind. But I knew all 3 of us have worked through the whole sleep business and have lots of good ways. So this week went out with the Monday morning inspiration, a few tips on how to sleep better, but also this amazing sleep quiz. And if y'all haven't done the sleep quiz yet, you need to go do the sleep quiz because it's super fun. It'll come out with 3 different things for you to learn about with sleep. And it will give us some feedback on what to put into our new sleep course so that we can help people who struggle to have the tools in the creator-based way. Because you're the creator of your life experience. You're the one that gets to choose. You're not a victim to insomnia. You're not a victim to stress. You really can work in it. And that's what we're going to work on with the upcoming sleep course. So if you'll take the quiz, we'll know what to focus on. And you'll learn some good things.
That's a great idea. Yeah,
I was just blown out of the water. Well, yesterday I had another epiphany at church. Go figure. Only this time it wasn't in the women's meeting. This time it was in the church parking lot. There was a guy in our congregational meeting who appeared to be struggling during the congregational meeting. And me being me, I just kind of reached out to try and do some help for him while we were in the meeting. And I felt pretty connected. They're friends, acquaintances, friends that we've had for a number of years through church. And the meeting was done, and Jared and I like to take a loop before we go into Sunday school. It's too much sitting for me to sit for 2 whole hours. I get fidgety and I need to get up. And so we take a loop and we walk around the building once and we come back in. Well, I walked around the building and here's this brother in the church in his car getting ready to go home. And so I stopped and I teased him about being delinquent because we were delinquents in the parking lot ourselves. And we got talking, and it was just the best old visit. I was so glad for that tender mercy of being able to be out there and visit. But the fun part was his wife came out a little while in, and she was looking at her phone. And she looks at the 3 of us standing there in the parking lot, and she said, "Yeah, I saw you get up and go to your car. And then 40 minutes and you still haven't gone anywhere. I had to come see what's going on out here." And so we got talking a little bit more about coaching and, life stuff, managing your life stuff. And she said to him, "Well, do you get the Monday morning inspiration?" And he looked at her. He's like, "Oh yeah, I see Beth's stuff on Insta all the time." And she's like, "No, not Insta. The Monday morning inspiration. You should read it." Yeah, so great. But she went on and told her husband about what a difference it made. And he asked me, "So do you do stuff for guys?" And I'm like, "Well, we have a couple of guy clients that I really love, but largely we market to women, but maybe we need to start thinking more about being more inclusive and guys." So all kinds of great experiences for church this week, which ties into the message that I wanted to talk about, because we're talking about listening. It was cool for me because I just was in a good place this Sunday. Some Sundays you go in and you're like, "Oh my gosh, do I have to be here?" But this Sunday I was glad to be there and I was in a good place. And I just felt that listening. It was working for me, that listening. But if you're not in the space of listening, what do you think about just showing up? Do you think it's enough just to show up? Do you think it's important to just show up? What do you do when you're in
You
that
gotta
place?
show up. You gotta show up if you're gonna hear anything, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
really do think that sometimes it's just enough to show up,
Mhm.
just be there. Yeah. And to show up and to be there and to be present, but to do it completely without judgment. So that's kind of what I wanted to visit about. How do you, when you're in a yucky spot, show up without judgment, because if I'm in a bad space, first of all, I want to nitpick and pull apart whatever's in front of me, or I want to do nitpick and pull apart whatever inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in that funky spot, which I know a lot of people are as we're wrapping up the end of the school year and there's a lot of pressures and a lot of stuff going on, we do need to keep just showing up. But how do we do that with grace? How do we do that to make things better for ourselves and for the people around us?
I think it's really interesting. So y'all know that I was in Hawaii for a couple of weeks or for 10 days, and
If you can't tell, just look at her tan, y'all.
um, and we like to snorkel, and I love the feeling of being under the water and seeing just all of the fish and all of the coral and just the variety, the huge variety. And it causes me to feel deeply. So if you can,
Does it like ignite
six
something
things.
inside of you?
It does. Yeah. It just feels like peace and connection and appreciation and gratitude, and that there's so much more, right? Limitlessness. It's just this expansive. Yeah.
It's awe and wonder for me because we scuba dive. And
Yeah.
I wonder, but then also that peace, the water just makes you feel so peaceful. Yes, I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Jeff Holland that just said something about wonder, that happiness was gratitude with wonder. Yeah, that's where we really feel that happiness, is when the wonder is involved.
Yeah. Well, and so the first few days when I went snorkeling, I didn't feel it.
Oh,
and
interesting.
And I was like, yeah, it was just this, oh, I just
kind of felt flat.
Yeah, flat. Yeah, just kind of like, and then it was like, oh, the water's cold, or really it wasn't cold, but just all of these thoughts, these other thoughts that just came in, right? And luckily, Mark was with me, and every day he'd say, come on, let's go snorkeling. Let's go snorkeling. And about the third time we went out snorkeling, again, for showing up, I just showed up. And
even though you weren't feeling it.
Yeah. It was very different. And so anyway, I just showed up, and like the fourth day, it was a little bit more. I was like, oh, I see the beauty. I see this instead of the complaints. And then showed up again the next time, and it was even more. And we get to the last day that we went out snorkeling, the day before we left, and I was in that space of awe and wonder. And, I'm like crying in my mask because it was so overwhelming and beautiful that, but I had to keep showing up.
Yeah. Well, and it sounded like you needed to keep showing up while you were unwinding, and you were curious and you were focused, and like it just continuing as you unwound almost.
Right.
Unwinding there.
There was unwinding, and there was judgment. What's wrong with me? Why?
I've always seen this in the past.
Yeah. I've always felt this before. What, am I just over it? Or,
am I broken?
Am I beyond feeling? Is this just old news? Like, what is this?
So and that wound you up tighter.
It does.
You relax.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we can just relax and show up.
Mm-hmm.
I know Jen's always talking about being curious.
Yeah.
Is that when curiosity opens up for you, is when you kind of take a breath and relax?
Oh, of
Yeah.
course.
For me, it does. And also sometimes when I'm like, why is this different? What's going on here? Why is there some conflict or tension or whatever? Just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would probably be the same thing, like what Jason was saying. Like, am I just done with this? Am I over snorkeling?
What
What's going
happened?
on? You know, I would just be curious and asking questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I'll bet you spent the whole week slowing down and relaxing.
Yeah, we did. We did, which is different than we had done in the past. Normally, today I'm the planner, right? We're going to go do this, 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 and this, and we're going to see this waterfall and hike here. But this time it was more just unwinding from the beginning of this year because
You had the year for sure. Yeah.
there was a lot.
There was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, another thought that I had when you were telling us about that was your inner voice. It
Mm.
sounds like you didn't really connect to your inner voice when you were first beginning to snorkel.
Mm.
Do you think?
It was a lot of outside, a lot of outside stuff. Yeah.
What kind of chatter? What was going on?
Um, expectations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
This is the way it always is. This is the way it needs to be.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And disappointed because we had pretty high surf while we were there, which isn't like the greatest for snorkeling.
Mhm.
And because the water is stirred up and so it's not as clear.
Yeah.
And so there I was disappointed with it. And
then there's the judgment.
there's the
that
judgment.
brings on the disappointment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of like inner or out, I guess outer things trying to tell me what I was supposed to feel like, what it was supposed to look like, what it was supposed to feel like, what it was supposed to be, instead of just letting it be and appreciating it for what it was. And yeah.
Yeah.
And
One of the things I've noticed is younger people, like way younger people, age 5, age 8, age 11, don't expect so much like that. They don't have enough life experience and so they tend to live more in the present moment, and quite often just in delight or in terror or in anger, but very present with what they've got going on. And then as we're young adults, we're kind of making those connections as teenagers and young adults. And then somewhere, I think around the time we're 30, we start thinking, well, I got it figured out. If I do this, then this happens. This is cool. I figured it out. But then the rest of our life, we kind of feel like we have it figured out, and we end up pigeonholing ourselves and missing out. Jen's like, uh-huh. And so I think wonder, when we start with wonder and with awe and letting go of that expectation. But how do we do that when we're already all wound up because of all the shoulds in our life to begin with?
go ahead, Jen.
No, go ahead.
Just in that experience, what kind of helped me out of it is when Mark and I snorkeled together, he always holds my hand. He is my protector. He is. And for me, that's just such a sacred spot. And I had even forgotten about that we were holding hands. And so coming back into present and just feeling his hand securely around mine and feeling that safety and that connection. So just honing into one thing that you're present with, that you can find gratitude in or goodness in, because there's got to be something in any situation that's going right. There's one thing.
Right.
One thing. Yeah.
Right. Oh, I love that. Yeah, because I'm watching people move faster and faster as school is winding up and all of the end of year stuff. So focusing on that one thing. And I love the idea of just focusing on him holding your hand and the safety that you feel there and the protection that you feel there.
I think it was a very present practice. Like you were present with what was going on.
Mhm.
Yeah, really, really cool. Listening, right? It opens the door to listening, which is what we're talking about all month long. So I guess the next question then would be, when we're in all of this busyness and turmoil, how do we listen? You said the first one, by being present. What else can we do to help ourselves be better listeners during this month of busyness? As we're all approaching summer vacation, we just got to get to summer vacation, right? How do we
I
listen
think
better?
sometimes we just need to close our mouth. I think sometimes we fill the space with talk, and like that's not listening. It's not listening. So
Well, and
sometimes
for me, I sat down to lunch the last couple of days and wanted to put on a podcast. And instead, I just ate in quiet.
Mhm.
Did
Right.
and like literally didn't fill it with talk and just was quiet. And that quiet allowed me to slow down to the point where I could listen better after lunch. Yeah, those quiet moments. I just get where I get so wound up. I just got to keep going and keep going and keep going, you know,
Mhm.
and to make myself stop and be still and taste my food. Do you remember in that what's the name of that book? The meditation book that was written by somebody from the LDS church. The one-
Power of Stillness. Yeah.
What was it?
The power of stillness.
Power of Stillness. And they talk about in the Power of Stillness um, that we have these built-in meditation breaks all the way through our day.
Mhm.
We have a built-in meditation break at least 3 times, but more like 5 or even 7 times. 3 times when we show up to eat. And if we take a breath and we come present before we start to eat, what a difference that will make. And then we pray, we touch base with our creator and we give thanks. The difference there in our morning and evening prayers, in our family prayers, if we have family prayers with our children and with the members of our family, there are so many different places, touch points to become present in the day. Because the question is, do we honor them? I know for me, I can rush through like a grocery list, if I'm not careful with a prayer, if I don't take that breath and slow down. What about y'all?
It's interesting because that was something that we're talking right along with what I shared during a Sunday school class yesterday. And we were talking about, I had remembered reading something about the children of Israel. And when they came out, and received the 10 Commandments, and it had this list of to-dos, right? That we also have that list of to-dos. It just looks different, to check in with our creator, to remind us of him. We're not sacrificing animals, thankfully.
Yes.
So
Yes.
grateful for that.
So glad I was born during this time.
Right.
Yes.
But the recipe is, like you were saying, Beth, is we have opportunities to check in with our creator throughout the day. We've been
They're
taught, you
built
hear
into our daily practice
right,
if we
and
honor them.
yes, I hear country songs that are written about, that they say grace before their meals, and they have family prayer and those kinds of things. And I think about that. That's so brilliant with all of the meditation practices that we have, because if we can take that time and breathe and really get present with our creator during
Yeah.
those checkpoints,
Yeah.
what a brilliant thing, right? Look, if we all did that, would we need all these meditation apps? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. Well, and I love too, so many families, when they have prayer over their food, they hold hands.
Mhm.
So not only do you have the time with your creator, but you have the unity and the touch with your family, and that just to me is huge. It's a really important connection point, that moment of touch that really helps you come back into the present moment, that touch. What are you thinking, Jen? I
Oh
see
no,
lots of bobbing.
I grew up in a family that we didn't touch when we had prayer, but my husband and I, whenever we have our prayer on our meal, we're holding hands, and just kind of brings that, like, this is what we're doing. It's like, this is, it's kind of like shuts everything out, and this is what we're doing. And I just like, it's a little like ritual that we have, and I just love it.
Well, it involves all of your senses that way, right?
Yeah.
When you start including the touch. Yeah,
Mhm.
it makes a huge difference.
And I think when you're mindful about that, Jen, like holding hands with Mark when I was until I was focusing on, oh my gosh, we're holding hands. What does that mean? Oh, here's how I feel. Then it becomes even more special. Yeah, like tasting
It's
your
a really
food.
intimate thing.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it really changes things. So the whole month we've been kind of talking about listening and this focus and this presence and the touch involving all of the senses in listening. We only have one more week to talk about listening, and then we're going to start self-care summer. And I'm so excited about self-care summer, but we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. Let's just talk a little bit more about listening. If you were going to give sage advice to somebody about listening, maybe hearing an inner voice, maybe hearing an external voice, maybe understanding while you're listening, what kind of advice would you give? How could you help a friend who was struggling with listening or didn't quite get it? Help them listen better.
I think breathing is just so important. Slow down, breathe, whether it's the box breath or that's my favorite.
Box is your favorite. My
Yeah,
favorite is the
box is my-
double. I love the double breath. Yeah.
Yeah. But just breathing, because it slows everything down. It just, especially when maybe it's because the box, I'm truly concentrating and
Yeah,
that's
you're
what
fully
I'm
focused.
focused on, right?
Mhm.
On that, making sure that I'm doing it correctly. That I'm not thinking about other stuff, and it totally clears my mind, right? Gets that
Yeah.
oxygen to my brain, gets me out of the fight, flight, or freeze. It
And
gets
back into your body, because
Yes.
we're all just like, I don't even know where I go, but it's definitely not my body. It's funny you bring up the breathing, because it reminds me when we did U Week last year, there
Mm.
was a slide in U Week that said, people who breathe live the longest. I don't know if you remember that or not, but that always makes me giggle, because I'm like, well, duh. But it was a study that they had done on people who, when they receive a shock or difficult news, and people, how they behave, how they respond. And they followed those people. And the ones that, when they did receive difficult news or a shock, took a big breath and paused, were the people that they found lived the longest, had the longest lifespans.
Mhm.
So there's a lot to be said. Yeah.
There's if you have Disney or if you have National Geographic, my son introduced me to a docu-series called Limitless with Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah. Thor. I mean, who doesn't want to watch Thor on TV? Come on.
Is that who he? I don't even know who he
Yes.
is. I was like, okay, he's an actor.
Yeah.
But when you watch it, the very first one is all about breathing, and they have all the science behind it with it, what it does to his brain, what it's doing to his body, and how he's able to, using breathing techniques and using gratitude and positive thoughts, how
Yes.
he's able to get over one of his biggest fears and actually do something with flair that he was scared to death to do, like literally scared to death to do.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's an amazing show, but I'll tell you, it really does give me anxiety to watch it. I like to watch. I'll sit down in the evening, and I usually will like to watch 2 or 3 of the same show episodes in a row, But that one, I watch one episode and then come back a week later and watch one episode, because I get so cranked up because the people are so stressed. But they overcome, and it's so cool to use the breathing and the focus and the thought work. Yeah.
It's the practices
a
that
difference.
we teach at CMH coaching. It's
Yeah.
the creator-based way. It's truth. It's
Which is
truth.
why it works for everybody.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's very, very cool. Anything else we want to talk about with listening to help people listen or hear better? I mean, I love what you've said so far. Any other thoughts before we move on to recap? Because we got a big week coming up. No, everything's good. Yeah, I'm just so happy we're back together again. I just can't even tell you. Very, very cool. So are we doing book club this week, JC?
We are doing book club this week, and the art of gathering. We're still working on the art of gathering, and it's been really cool for me because I have meetings that I run that are I'm looking at them differently. I'm giving starting with the purpose. What is the reason? What are we really looking for
Yeah.
this meeting? What's the purpose of it? And guess what? If it doesn't really have a purpose, then we don't need
Why
to.
are we wasting our
Yeah.
time?
Yeah, this makes no sense at all.
Right.
So she's got some great ideas on how to start building that. And it's a really good book. It just really helps you think about gathering and why we do
And
it.
it's such a time saver.
Mm.
You know, to gather with a purpose makes so much, it just makes so much more sense. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
So what chapter are we reading through this week?
We are reading through, let's see, let me look at it here.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and with that, I mean, something else that I really appreciated that she talked about was it's just as important for you to know who to invite to your gathering as it is for you to know who not to invite. So there are times
Oh,
when,
that's interesting. We don't usually curate a gathering that way.
right,
Yeah.
right. Oh, it's all inclusive. Well, should it be? I mean,
Right.
that's the question. Should it be all inclusive, or should it be, mine is not coming up, or should it be, yeah, should it be different?
Yeah. So interesting.
So I really appreciated that.
I remember reading in the beginning of the book where she had a dinner party and she did curate the dinner party for the specific purpose of having people be able to open up and get to know each other within the neighborhood. And what a
Mhm.
difference it made, the people that she chose to invite and the way they interacted and the synergy at the dinner table. It was pretty,
Yes.
yeah, I really appreciated
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So we're going to be through chapter 6, just starting chapter 7. We'll save the last 2 chapters for.
Okay, so we'll read all the way through chapter 6 for
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Yep.
That'll be great. And then Tuesday, because we're just going to bounce all over around here, we are having Coaching Clear, but and it will be just our regular get together, bring what you want to work on, bring your journal, and we will be discussing. We've really enjoyed as a group coaching each other and being together. Everybody brings what they want to work on, and inevitably it turns out to be in the same vein and the same theme. And then we do the clearing work, but there's a lot of coaching between the members, which is really great. It's just a very synergistic experience and very great. It's just great clearing.
Mhm.
Before we do Coach and Clear tomorrow, we have Mastermind tonight. And it
do.
feels like we haven't had Mastermind in forever. I don't know why, but I am very excited to meet with our Mastermind group and hear what everyone's been doing. And the way, I know it's only been 2 weeks,
Mhm.
but Mastermind, just to hear everybody's goals and how they're coming. So we're going to talk about introception tonight and extroception, but more introception this time, and using that to create peace and harmony and listening and understanding, and thereby propelling you forward in your goals and the way that will work. But then I saved the best for last, Jen. A week from Saturday, Jen's doing another jumpstart. You want to tell us about your jumpstart?
Um, interesting. It's going to help you learn how to listen to your body because we're going to do some things that you're going to be,
Listen,
yeah, learning how your body can communicate to you, but also just this is going to help you to calm down and center yourself, ground yourself. It's all a bunch of little different techniques from all walks of life. So,
yes,
Mm-mm.
taming the stress tiger.
Mhm.
But it's not necessarily all about stress. It's about listening to your body and letting her speak to you because she is your bestie
Mhm.
and she wants you to understand the
And
things
just
that,
be balancing. So,
yeah,
yeah.
just need
So
some balance. Yeah.
I'm
So
excited for that, Jen. I always
me
love.
too. I can't wait. Jump starts are my favorite. I just
Mhm.
love coming. So lots of good things happening this week, and we will be back next week, maybe on the right place in the 50/50 Girl Club, but we'll figure it out. We keep working on the technology. And
So question,
yeah,
it's Memorial Day Monday.
yes, it is.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we
So
have a conversation about that.
we need to have a conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
We may or may not be here, guys.
There'll be something out there. We won't leave you high and dry.
There you go.
There'll be something, whether it's live or it's not. It's all good.
Perfect.
Yeah, because everybody needs their Memorial Day. That's the truth.
Mhm.
So until next Monday, whether we're here live or we're here in some other form, we'll see ya. Yeah, because we like to wing it. It's what we do. So y'all have a great week and thank you for coming.